Okay, so following on from that introduction video, what we are going to look at is the first exercise, like I was just saying, about how we process information. Okay, what I wanted to share with you here is the sort of, again, this is me making assumptions, right? But the general vibe or gist that I get from the world that we live in today is that everything is going extremely fast. Okay, there's almost that sort of feeling or assumption that we have to react instantly to something, otherwise we'll lose out, we'll miss an opportunity, we won't be competitive, whatever it may be. So there's something about how we deal with the information that we get, again, through our phones, through our computers, whether it be through our emails, through social media, through the phone calls that we get. And, you know, I'm talking specifically about our phones and our computers, but we can take this outside of the technological space and we can look at the interactions that we have on a daily basis, conversations that you have in a corridor with your boss, conversations that you have with a friend over the weekend. How do we deal with that information that we receive? How do we deal with again, I'm using the word information because it's words, it's stories, it's things that we're reading, things that we're hearing. But when I say information, I'm meaning energy because it's something that is being shared with us, something that's being transferred to us. So how do we deal with that energy? How do we take that on board, or how do we, to the contrary, push that back and say, no, thank you, that's not for me? Okay. And and I guess what I wanted to share, like I was saying, is that for me, the assumption I'm going to make today is that in the world we live in, information is moving around fast. And the assumption I think that a lot of us make, and like I said, myself included in that, is that we need to, in return, deal with it quickly. If we're receiving it fast and we're receiving a lot of it, then we have to deal with a lot of it and we have to deal with a lot of it fast. Otherwise, we get left behind. Otherwise, we won't be up to scratch, etc., etc. And what I kind of want to introduce straight away is that fable of the tortoise and the hare, right? Okay, maybe being speedy isn't the only way to get to where we want to. So I just want us to just think about that for a second. Just think about maybe actually being reactive, being fast isn't the only way to get to where we want to. Okay. And in order to look at this, what I'm going to offer you is an exercise around the Eisenhower Matrix. I don't know if anybody is familiar with the Eisenhower Matrix. It is a tool that is used to understand and make the difference between what is urgent and what is important. Okay, what is urgent, what is important, and how we use information moving on through that. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt again, technology permitting, to share a slide here. Okay, so the first exercise is this one here. It says there, email task overload, question mark. Okay, do you feel like you're getting a lot of information? Do you often feel that you're sort of, I mean, I didn't choose this picture per chance, right? Do you often sort of feel overwhelmed, almost panicked with the amount of emails you're receiving, WhatsApps that are coming from different groups, the tasks, the to-do lists that you have for yourself, to-do lists at home, to-do lists at work, whatever it may be, and feeling a little bit lost, confused, panicked, overwhelmed. Some of those words are pretty strong, but just there's a sheer quantity of information coming in and tasks to complete. And how we do that, hopefully this Eisenhower matrix will help you to navigate that flux of information, flux of energy coming in. Because the risk, I guess what I'm trying to say here, the risk is that that energy coming in drowns us, takes over, and that we feel a little bit like I guess the risk is that we, again, the words coming to me in French this morning, that we baisser les bras, that we sort of subir, again, all coming to me in French, that we just let them, so the emails, the WhatsApps, the phone, let them control our energy rather than we take the energy, we take control of our own energy for ourselves. So the idea behind this Eisenhower matrix is that we are going to take ownership. We are going to decide what we do with the information and the energy coming in rather than letting that take control of us. Okay, I hope that makes sense. The first thing we need to do to understand this Eisenhower matrix is look at these two words, okay? Urgent and important, or important and urgent. Okay, and what I would like for you to do, please, again, if you've got pen and paper in front of you, or if not on your computer, where wherever you want to capture your notes, I would like for you to write down, what does important mean to you? And what does urgent mean to you? Just scribble down a short definition in a couple of words. What does urgent mean? And what does important mean? Okay. Again, invitation at this point in time, just pause the video and take a couple of minutes, as long as you like. That way you can press play again when you're ready. What does urgent mean? And what does important mean to you? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to make the assumption that if you are carrying on listening, is that you've taken those couple of minutes to reflect on this. Okay. And I guess the first thing that I would want to play back to you is, did you see on that slide that I shared with you those two words, important and urgent, what color they were written in, right? They were written in red. And it's really funny when I Googled both of those words, Google image to get a picture to put on these slides, 99% of the images that came up were all in red. Okay, so it's kind of underlining what I was saying before about that sort of overload um, of information that we're getting. The color red is very much, I don't know if you've ever thought about why a red traffic light is red and why green is green. Green is that more sort of subtle color, that more invitation to move, invitation to go forward. Whereas the red, it catches our attention, it gets us to stop in our tracks, it gets us to, red can resonate often as a color with action, with anger, with energy in a positive or a negative. Again, no judgment whatsoever, in a positive or negative way. But there's something about red that catches our attention. If you see something that's green, it's more subtle to the eye. So the red in a traffic light is what we see that, and that's what gets us to stop before we act and before we move on. So just, yeah, I thought that was curious that all of those words are in, all those two words are in red when you type them on Google. Just means something about the urgency of them, the importance of them, even though that's sort of, I don't know what you call that, describing a word with the word itself. But there's something about how they resonate. That's almost how they make us feel when we see them show up. Okay. Not only you know what you've written down, maybe you'll share it with us in some way or form. But I think moving forward, what we want to use as definitions for these two words is that urgent. Let's start with urgent. Urgent evokes a necessity to act quickly. Okay. I guess for me, if I think back to when I was working in the corporate world, um, the expression that I used to hear the most often, not working in a hospital or as a doctor, was we're not. It's not urgent because we're not saving lives. Okay, I remember managers or people used to say that to calm someone down that was stating that something was extremely urgent. Okay, so urgency does have that sort of relevance to life-saving situations. Okay, but I think I have no idea of the figures, but let's say 98% of us in the world are not working in life-saving situations. Okay, so how do we use that word urgency? Okay, for me, it comes down to perspective and clarity on understanding what that means. Hence why I asked you to do this, what urgency means to you, and most importantly for you, what it means to the people that you're working with, or the people that you're conversing with, the people that you're exchanging information, the people that you're exchanging energy with. I'll give you an example. I did a course on time management. I delivered a course on time management a couple of months ago. And I asked this question to the group. I had a group, I think there were about 20. And I said to them, okay, if I send you an email and say at the end of the email, please get back to me urgently, when do you think I'm expecting for you to get back to me? Give me a time frame. When do you think I'm expecting a response to my email? Okay. And I had some that replied, you know, pick up the phone and respond to the email directly within the next 5 minutes over the phone. I had some that said within the hour, I had some that said by the end of the day, some by the end of the week, some by the end of the month, etc., etc. Okay, there's something about how we manage and understand urgency that is very different to each and every one of us. Okay, get back to me ASAP, as soon as possible. What does that mean? It is completely relative to the understanding that we each have of that word. So the first invitation in this space is when somebody asks you for something urgently, as soon as possible, get clarification on what does urgency mean between yourself and that person. Are you aligned to that? If not, have a conversation about that alignment. Okay, hoping that makes sense. The reason why that's so important is because, and again, this is a whole different course, I think, on saboteurs and what are the things that get in the way for us. But one of the biggest saboteurs that we have is people pleasing. Okay, and if someone says, "Can you get back to me ASAP?" There's that people pleaser in a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us, that saying, "Yeah, of course, that's going to put that to top priority, urgent, and get back to you as soon as possible." Whereas actually, it might not be. Hence, we're going to go to the second word. It might not be the most important thing for you to do. Okay? So getting clarity, understanding on what urgency means. The same can be for that second word, important. Okay, that adjective important. From where I'm sitting, there's even more space for interpretation. Okay, important because it's important to who, for what, for when, for why. There's a lot of understanding between different parties on what important means. The dictionary, I think, defines it. I looked it up the other day. Is important is something of great significance or value. But again, come those questions: for who, for when, why, etc., etc. So there's definitely an importance of clarification between two parties involved in the conversation and the exchange, understanding what does important mean to you. Okay, quite often important topics are important topics in your eyes, to you, to your role, to your purpose, to your mission in life, to your whatever it is. Whereas important, somebody saying this is important, is going to be from them, from their personal objective. So it's again trying to understand, find clarity, and resonance between the two of you in that space. Okay. So hopefully you're starting to see that it's not as easy, not as easy as we think to define, to clarify what urgent and important mean, because there's very subjective element to them. But before we even dive in, I'm about to share with you a slide with this matrix. Before we even dive into that, having a conversation, responding to, "Please, can you get back to me? This is urgent," with, when you say urgent, what do you mean? When do you want this for? What is your deadline? Whatever it may be, having a conversation about it. This will help you to not waste energy unnecessarily with worrying about, I've got to, if you get 5 emails in the morning or 5 text messages or 5 calls with, "Please ring me back, this is urgent." How do you classify? How do you choose which one to pick first? So really focusing on defining those words and sharing those definitions with those around you. Okay? Once you have done that, you are going to be ready to embark upon the adventure of the Eisenhower Matrix, which I'm going to share with you here. Here we go, sharing my slide. This here, hopefully you can see, is the Eisenhower Matrix. Okay, it is as simple as, and I'm always going to invite you to do it now, if you've got pen and paper in front of you. It's almost, or it is as simple as drawing. Of course, my pen isn't working. Okay, drawing on your piece of paper just 4 quadrants, okay, and popping on top left, urgent at the top, not urgent the right, and then down the left hand side, important, as you can see it on the screen, top left and bottom, left, not important. Okay, and the idea with this matrix is you can use it in whatever way or form you want. Okay, I'll share with you some examples at the end. My general suggestion is that you use it at the start of every week, or at the end of every week, depending on how you like to function, to categorize the information that is coming in for you, and then you can adapt and adjust as new information comes in through the week. But the idea is this, is very simple. Something that, let's start in the top left, okay? Something, piece of information, a request, a task, again, personal, professional, email, a phone call, or something through your social media, your communication, whatever it is. Something comes through that you define as urgent and important, okay? That means it's something that you need to do, and you need to do now. It's something that you need to prioritize, okay? Something that requires your immediate attention, okay? For me, that means that you've got a clear understanding of what that specific deadline is. Okay, it means that you've clarified with the people involved and that you're clear that that's something that needs to be done within the time frame that you've agreed on with those parties involved. Okay. If you get a request that comes through that is urgent but not important, again, not important to you in your eyes because of who you are, because of your role, because of your function, because of your purpose, your mission, whatever it is that you've decided that it's not important. Here comes a new challenge, is being able to delegate that task, piece of information, that request, that whatever it is, okay? It is learning how to say no. And I laugh because there's almost, again, another course or a whole nother exercise around learning to say no. But there's something about empowering. Again, I was talking about at the start of the day, the sun shining, squinting, but it's lovely, the sun shining through the window here. But there's something about empowering yourself, giving yourself energy by saying no. No, this isn't within my scope, this isn't within my remit. This isn't, my value isn't here. So rather than taking on board that task, it's okay, how am I going to hand that over to somebody else? How am I going to ask somebody else? How am I going to forward that request to somebody else? How am I going to extract myself from that, if it's a loop email or whatever it is, and pass that task on to somebody else, okay? It's about focusing on what is important to you, okay? So delegating, saying no, taking control of your energy and saying, actually, that's not important to me, but it is urgent, so I'm going to pass that over and let somebody else get involved in that, okay? If we go up to the top right, schedule, something that comes in that is important, but not urgent, okay? What that means is creating time slots. I don't know how you work with your diaries, but it's almost in the same way that we block meeting space in our diaries, or we, block out an evening for drinks with friends, whatever it may be. It's when a piece of information, a task comes through that is important but not urgent, doesn't need to be done within the next couple of hours. It's scheduling time into your diary to manage that piece, to have time to do it, okay? This, again, from me, from experience and from where I'm sitting, should be the quadrant that gets the most filled up. Apologies. Okay. Because you're planning, you're mid, long-term planning, you're planning things, again, that are contributing towards a project you're working on, your purpose, your mission in life. I'm conscious that my vocabulary is very sort of much workplace orientated in terms of emails and things like that, but this could be you're planning your new business idea, you're planning how to switch from the corporate world to a different world that you want to work in. It could be about your personal life, it could be personal training, fitness goals, whatever it is. But it's okay, it's not urgent for you to go to the gym right this second, but it's super important. So scheduling in, when are you going to go? When is the time and the hour that you want to go to the gym? And the biggest challenge with this quadrant is protecting that time, scheduling it in to your diary. Okay, it's easy. I'm going to go at 5 this afternoon, whatever it is. But it's then protecting that time when urgent and important requests come in, for example. And the key is, over time, the more you protect that time, the more you focus on it, the more you give it your energy and your priority, and you respect your energy, you respect the slots that you've given yourself, the engagements always that you've given yourself, then the less urgent and important tasks you will get, because you're managing your time and your energy as you go along. Because what happens to non-urgent important tasks that you schedule but then they don't complete, they become urgent and important. You see what I mean? By scheduling it and respecting that schedule, you diminish the amount of urgent and important tasks that come through, because you're not shifting them from that right-hand column over to that left-hand column. Okay? So there's really something about, again, empowering yourself in the bottom left with delegating to, actually, that's not where my value lies. That's not for me. So who can I pass that to, or who would want to take that on or could take it on? And in the top right, to scheduling, to I'm going to protect time. I'm going to put time down in my diary for me to do these things that are important for me to move forward on my dreams, on my projects, on whatever it is. Okay. And then the final quadrant down at the bottom right, eliminate. So requests, information that comes through that are not urgent and not important. This could be newsletters, chain emails, things that you're in the loop that you shouldn't be in the loop for, whatever it may be. The idea is going to be about keeping these to a minimum. Okay, eliminating as much as possible. Now, I'm not going to talk about this too much actually, because the third exercise we're going to do is what we call inbox zero. It's going to be about working around unsubscribing, getting rid of information that we receive unnecessarily, that we think we need to, or that we think is important, but actually that we could, in the same way as that teacup, let go of in order to focus on the more important tasks that we have. Okay. That being said, however much we eliminate, there will always be some of those tasks that are not urgent and not important, but that we have to do, that are part of our job, part of who we are. Again, I don't know, let me give you a bad example. I hate cleaning, for example. At the moment, we don't have a cleaner, which I am definitely in the process of looking at delegating to pay somebody to come and do that. But at the moment, that is within what my and my wife's remit at home. Okay, I see it as, I suppose it is important and not urgent, so I could schedule it, but I see it as not urgent and not important. So it's something I want to eliminate. But ultimately, when it's there, those maybe it's a bad example, but those things that are in that category, it's about finding the time of day where you don't need that much energy for them, so that you can take on board those tasks with the sort of the lowest effort possible. Maybe it might be the end of the day for you when you're more tired or whatever it may be. Again, each of us have different philosophies within that space. It might be you can do it first in the day and get it out the way, but we'll look at that with a further exercise when we look at how we try to, first of all, eliminate those tasks as much as possible. Okay, so I'm hoping that that is starting to make sense in terms of how we deal with the flux of information that comes in for us. Okay. And like I was saying earlier, the idea really with this tool is to use it as much as possible. Okay, is to use it at the start of a week, at the end of a week, and to adapt it and adjust it as the week goes on. Okay, but really the section that should have the most tasks in it should be that scheduling one. Okay, where you are planning things. Okay, if everything is going into that urgent and important, then you want to question your definition of urgent and important. You want to question other people's definition of urgent and important, because your energy will struggle to function if everything is going into that quadrant all the time. Okay, I'm going to be asking yourself the question, am I doing this because it's important or purely because it's urgent? Where are you classifying those different things? Okay, so we've talked a lot about email, social media, uh, the things that come through that we think, oh, I'd like to do that course, or I could communicate in this way myself, or if you've got lots of followers, the requests that you get and things like that, the phone calls that you get that come in, like I was talking about earlier, conversations that you might have in the hallway, at work, in the corridor, or even in the street, or at the weekend with friends, whatever it is. But there's something about every interaction being a sharing of energy, okay? And asking yourself the question, do you let that interaction become an energy or an energy boost? Okay, do you let that interaction become an energy leak or an energy boost? Taking ownership, empowering yourself to make your own decisions. For example, I used to think that when my mobile phone used to ring, I had to answer it. My assumption was the phone rings, you have to answer it. Actually saying, I don't have to answer my phone every time it rings. If someone's got something important and urgent to share with me, they will leave me a message. Gives you the power to decide, to choose, to manage your energy, and it really empowers you to to take control and to move forward in a really different way. So the invitation is just to play around with this. Okay, play around with this Eisenhower matrix, give it a go. Try and maybe plan out your day, your week, whatever you think is most appropriate. Understanding how urgent and important affect your energy at this stage, and then we will add a couple more tools to this in the next exercises that are coming up, in terms of how we focus on one thing at a time, avoiding multitasking, and how we aim to have our inbox at zero, which is an expression, but it's more about how we are eliminating the sources of energy that are really just draining energy from us, and that we don't need, or we can, like, coming back to the starting point of that teacup, that we can actually let go of in order to create more space to let more things in. Okay, hoping this is all making sense. Take some time to reflect, defining urgent, defining important, redefining them constantly as you converse and share with other people, and then having a go at mapping out what's going on for you, tasks, information coming through to you, mapping it out in that Eisenhower Matrix, and seeing what comes up for you there. Okay, enjoy, and I look forward to the next exercises with you very soon.